Welcome to another episode. My name is Dean Vassy. You can find me on X at hashtag Kangas, Instagram hashtag Kangaroos podcast. Tonight, I welcome back Mark and Jesse to the show. Well, let's start with you, Jesse, and your thoughts on the 100-year celebration. We just talked a little bit about it off air. A lot of controversy going into it. Some former players not happy, but I thought the club did it really well. I really loved the Dennis Pagan speech before the game. Seemed to have an effect as well. The players really got themselves up for the game. It was good to see the AFLW get recognised. Former premiership players and legends of the clubs. A lot of ex-players really loved it. Thoughts on it all, Jesse?
I think it was good. I think we talked about this, I think the only thing that was a negative for me was the game that it seemed, look, I think we talked about it and it seemed a bit like the whole thing was a bit rushed going into it.
Yeah.
How they executed it, I thought was very well. I think the only knock on it was they chose the Thursday night game. They wanted prime time. I understand they wanted prime time. I completely get that. But Thursday night on a cold night against the Bulldogs, who did not show up for an away game, wasn't ideal. It obviously made it look a lot worse. That's no excuse. There was a lot of North fans who just didn't go because they thought the result was going to be one-sided, but the crowd was poor. But the rest of it, the pre-game celebration was great in terms of recognising all of the champions over the years. The Dennis Pagan talk up, I thought was really good, getting him out and getting him to a speech that the crowd could hear, that it was on TV. Having all of the old ex-players doing a huddle around the outside. So I thought that was pretty awesome. On the one or two dinosaurs that weren't a big fan of the women getting a call out, I mean, it's a celebration of the North Melbourne Football Club over its history. It's not a celebration of the men only. It's a celebration about the club. So I've got no issue. I think the Dogs, for their one earlier this year, had Ali Blackburn referenced. So, I mean, I've got no issue with it at all. In fact, the women are the only ones who have actually got any success for us in any recent history. And they won every single game. It was dominant. You can say whatever you want about the AFLW not being, people don't like it. They don't like the skill level. The skill that the women played for us this year was the best class, was the best of any in that league ever. The skill level was fantastic. I'd like to see most of the blokes calling that out, especially the ones on socials, not even just the ex-players. They're just irrelevant. But the ones calling it out on socials, I mean, I'd like to see them line up against Emma Carney or Jazz Garner. I reckon they'd run rings around them. So I thought that was pretty embarrassing. But, I mean, we're not going to let it, get over that over to a couple of dinosaurs at the end of the day. I thought it was a really, really good celebration of the club. They got everyone involved. And like you said, we got up for the game. I think a lot of North fans, I was saying I was in the Premiership Club with one of my Dogs mates, and they had Spider Burton and Lee Colbert presenting before the game, and that was fantastic, getting to listen to them for a good 20 minutes. But one of the things that Lee Colbert said is, it's not about the result today, and everyone had a laugh. And he goes, yeah, we're going to win by 10 goals. And he goes, no, look, really, I think we all know that it's going to be a tough game. And I think that's a good way of putting it. I honestly went there thinking that it was going to be like many of the other games we've had against the Dogs. Well, obviously, we had the one earlier this year that I feel we should have won, and we just didn't. But if you think about how we played the Dogs last year, or the year before, or the year before that, that was embarrassing. Like, we're talking about absolute blood, like the Good Friday games in the Noble era. I was honestly expecting that. And the fact that we went out there with a young team, the youngest team of the round, the least experienced team of the round, and we absolutely put the fight to the Dogs for 3 quarters, I thought was really. I don't want to be one of those people who walks away and accepts honourable losses, but some of the people even on X that are really critical of the club, there's a few fans on there who are obviously very critical of the club. Even they walked away from it, with pretty positive comments. There was enough there that you walked away with and said, that's a positive, that's a positive. And I think they all appreciated the fact that we applied, our pressure was, I thought our pressure was really good. Yeah. I thought the pressure they applied, obviously we fell off, we got tired, but we applied really good pressure for a really good period of time. I thought our tackling was pretty solid. And the Dogs just, I thought we put the Dogs under an immense amount of pressure. And we did a pretty solid job against a very, very, very good midfield and against a very potent forward line. Yeah, we'll obviously talk about a few of those players. But yeah, look, all in all, I walked away from it really positive. I walked away with it thinking that the win against Melbourne should be a certainty. And I'm still holding to that on the asterisk that Larky may not play. But making an assumption that he does, and that Sherry obviously gets through all right the week and he plays, I don't. If we apply that form against Melbourne, I think we're a very, very good chance of winning. Less confident after I saw Melbourne take it up to Adelaide for 3.5 quarters, but there's no reason why we shouldn't be, right up there this week. Absolutely. So the effort was fantastic. It was a good. It was a good rebound after obviously a poor game against the Hawks. So all in all, pretty happy.
Yeah, no, that's all we can ask for at the end of the day. We'll definitely talk more about the game soon. What are your thoughts on the pre-game celebration, Mark? Anything different there to Jesse?
No, I agree with everything Jesse said. The only negative I had, which I mentioned pre-show, was I was furious with Logue laughing at Dennis Pagan. That I've been angry all week. I still haven't calmed down over that. I'm livid. Albeit, I understand he probably wasn't deliberately trying to make him to be disrespectful. It just, the look was horrific. Given our performance against Hawthorn the week before and Logue's form himself, there just was no reason to be laughing at a 76-year-old premiership coach who made a fantastic speech. So, and it had the desired result as well. So, I thought that was a very disappointing part of the pre-game. But I'm with Jesse. I think overall, North did a great job with it. The crowd was disappointing overall. Wasn't terrible, but would have liked to have had a full house for such a big occasion. But apart from that, I thought they did a great job, and I thought the players came to play. I think they largely made amends for the pretty poor effort or intensity against Hawthorn. Dennis Pagan was quite right what he said to them, that they had a lot to answer for that. But they responded in the right way. I think they've hopefully learnt a lot from that Hawthorn game. And I hope we just don't regress back, for the Melbourne game. But you would hope with the 10-day break that gives some pretty sore players a chance to recover a bit and for them to come out and be really as aggressive and intense as they were for that game.
Now, we'll might as well continue with the game. A 49-point loss in the end, but a lot of positives, like you mentioned, Jesse. But we'll never really go and win that game when LDU went down early. We had Larky on one knee 20 minutes into the first quarter. Was kicking goals on one leg. Sherry was struggling with a couple of knocks after halftime. Probably three of your most important players going down. So I think it's important not to focus on the margin in games like this. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I don't want to be one of those people, again, who talks about honourable losses, because at some stage we need to move past that, absolutely. But, I mean, I think we went into a game that we had no rights in winning, and I think we showed an absolute level of competitiveness. I've just had a look at the odds for this week, 420. Not trying to support betting at all here, guys, but paying 420, that's obscene.
You won't play, so.
Well, yeah. I'm not as fussed about that, just purely because obviously we get a fresh player for the whole game, and
the G's our favourite ground this year.
Yeah, 100% it is.
Fortress.
It is. Absolutely it is. We've been playing fantastic football at the G. I still maintain we're playing better footy outside than we do inside, although the Hawks game might have ruined that a little bit. Look, and I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but look, realistically, we went in there with no one gave us any chance at all. And the fact that we were able to produce what we produced, I think big kudos to a lot of the players and a lot of the people we brought in, because there were players who we brought in who haven't played all year, like Cooper Harvey, for example. We've talked about him getting a game. I've been big on him getting a game just on his forward line form. And I thought he played a good game. Kicked a really good goal, kicked another point that he could have been a goal. I think he had a few score involvements, which were really important. He drifted up the field, was able to get a bit of ball, and then for some reason they put him in the back line, which I didn't like as much.
They put him on Bontempelli in the last quarter.
And he was taking the kick-ins.
He's actually got a good kick on him.
He does. I can see the logic in doing it, but he doesn't have a defensive bone in his body. And that's the problem being up forward, let alone down back. So, it's probably more the point that, we brought in players and we had people playing a little bit out of position, and I thought they just all did really, really well, with the exception of one. So, there was only one or two players that I walked away from the night and said, I am not happy with those players compared to the week before.
I'll get those players off you in a minute there, Jesse. But, Mark, I want to talk about the game style and how it's transitioned over the course of the year. It's gone to attacking a lot more the last couple of weeks and taking the game on again, which is good when it comes off. But we've seen when we turn it over, we concede scores, particularly the back 50. I think we conceded 60-plus points on turnovers in our back half. McKercher, Caleb Daniel, Will Dawson all had their moments where they made a mistake and were punished. Is this an education for the rest of the year on game styles, and then maybe next year they look for a more balanced approach where they attack and defend?
Yeah, I think look, it would be safer for us to keep going down the road we were, which is the really heavy defence side. But I think the coaches realise if they're going to experiment and try and get the mix right, now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really they've got a free hit from now to the end of the year. They're not going to get that next year, and Clarkson knows that. They have to be performing at a level well above where we're at now next year, and by that I mean like they'll be looking for 10 wins next year. So 10 wins plus. So to get that, that's a big jump from where we are. So I think you're dead right. I think they have to start getting the the ball movement side right and the turnover part right. We've got to be better when the opposition turn over the ball and turning that into a score, and we've got to be far better at defending it when we turn it over. That's probably our biggest weakness at the moment. And look, bring the ball out of the back half. I probably was a bit unfair. I had a crack at Caleb Daniel because if I had pies, I would have been throwing them at the TV when he was trying to get us out of the back line. It was driving me mad. From here in New South Wales. So, look, I don't know. I mean, he's trying to do it in a phone box, I guess, and he's copping a lot of pressure because the opposition know he's going to be the one likely to take the risky kick. So they're putting enormous pressure on him, and it's really bringing us unstuck. So I think we need to look at that a bit more and have better other options rather than just him all the time. And the little dinky kicks out of the goal square whenever they score a behind's not really working either. We're just getting trapped in a pocket and then going long to so that's not working either. So they've got a lot of work to do on that. When McKercher's got it and he's running through, even though he does make some mistakes, I think that we look a lot better.
Yeah, well, he's very good at meters gained, but sometimes he can bite off more than he can chew.
Yeah,
Jesse,
that's okay.
Yeah, look, it is okay for a 19, 20-year-old. Might as well talk about some players out of the back 50. It's a fairly new back line with some injuries, and we don't make it easy for ourselves with some of these turnovers, in particular Caleb Daniel. And there's been a lot of talk about him. And, when he was at the Bulldogs, he was a very highly skilled player. They gave him the ball like we do. And, it was generally, hitting targets pretty regularly for the Bulldogs. That was a big part of his game. And if he's not doing that, and he's turning the ball over. I don't know what it is. Maybe you put it on an off-barrel jumper. You have to turn it over when you get the ball. But, look, if he's not going to hit targets, Mark just mentioned before, then he's almost useless, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, look, absolutely. He that's meant to be his one wood because he's not fantastic defensively. I didn't blame him for being outmarked by players and stuff like that. Because we know what his defensive deficiency is. I don't have a problem with that. People are having a go because Libba outmarking him. Libba's a pretty good mark. And Libba outmarked a couple players. So I'm not having a go at that one whatsoever. I'm more concerned around the dinky kicks, to Mark's point. Like, you're coming out of the back line, you're doing this dinky little kick sideways, you're panicking almost, looking everywhere where to go with the kick. Just get the meters gained. Don't try and bite off too much, but also don't bomb it down the line to the advantage of the opposition. It was just those simple mistakes. I think he had a negative player rating at the end of the game. I mean, I've been one of his biggest defenders, and people are going, we butchered the pick. I'll put it this way. Yes, we could have taken Whitlock with that pick potentially. It drifted to be around that mark, but it drifted to be a little bit later realistically. So there's no guarantee we would have got him, but I don't think we thought he was going to drift that late when we made that trade. And to be fair, the players who have come after him, there's not like there's one screaming out that you go, oh crap, we could have had so and so. Now that probably will happen, but look, at the end of the day, I don't have an issue with that. I just have an issue with his form. He's got to offer more offensively. It's got to be not these stinky little kicks sideways and always trying to get the ball to him. We've got to look at other options. There is a part of me that goes, absolutely, you would rather him be a lockdown defender. You'd rather a lockdown defender taking his role, and then you have your Hardiman and McKercher distributing the ball. Because I thought that Hardiman, who didn't have a massive game, but I thought Hardiman, the ability for him to come out of the back line with some really piercing kicks, I thought he actually was the most damaging and accurate with some of his piercing kicks. I really like.
Plus, he can defend. He's actually a really good defender.
Yeah, he's what we thought we were getting from like Yagoda and Bergman.
He's been a revelation.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. He's been fantastic. And
he kicks the ball 60 meters every time.
Yeah. And he's pretty good defensively. I know we're going to talk about it a bit later, but I think you got to remember the fact that last year we had 5 picks in the first round. 3 of them, albeit, were in the end of the first round or start of the second. But him and Dawson were back-to-back picks. And I don't want to talk about Dawson at the moment because obviously he's my shining light for the week. But we got back-to-back picks there, so we did really, really well. But yeah, back onto Daniel. I'm not in the club to. I don't want to drop him because it would just look absolutely stupid. But this is probably the one game that I was like, well, that was pretty bad. I thought his efforts were pretty bad. I didn't walk away going they were embarrassing because I think he tried. I just think he had an absolutely horrible game.
He's been a bit up and down.
He has. He's had some good games, and he's done some good things defensively. Even on the weekend, his pressure acts and stuff like that, defensive pressure acts and that are not bad. It's just his ability to defend one-on-one, which is a major problem for him.
It's not effort-based. The criticism is not effort-based.
No, it's not. No. Well, but it's got to be better. It's got to be more than just the effort. I mean, he's 28 years old, played in the Premiership, best and fairest winner at another club. I think he might have been all Australian.
He's all Australian, and that's the defender we thought we're getting. So we need, and he's because he's gone back to defence. That's what we need to see.
But next couple of weeks. Look, I don't think there's any pressure for his spot because we've got a lot of those halfbackers injured at the moment. Josh Goda did come back. Eddie Ford did come back through his reserves. So maybe that puts a little bit of pressure on him. I'm not too sure. But we'll talk about the reserves fairly soon. Jesse, I won't leave you Will Dawson. I'll give you the mark hello because I know how you feel about Will Dawson. You're frothing about him off air. But keeping Darcy to 5 possessions and a goal for the first 3 quarters in his 5th game, it's a big effort, isn't it? I mean, must be good for the kid to get that confidence and belief because last time I can remember, Mark, Sam Darcy is no slouch and a pretty talented footballer.
No, and we've got to remember this is Will Dawson's 2nd season. So same with Hardiman, but obviously Hardiman's put on a lot of weight and so is Will Dawson.
And missed a lot of the first, obviously, with the shoulder injury.
Yeah.
That's right.
Pre-season as well.
Yeah.
I'll try to do him justice for you, Jesse.
Thanks, mate.
I think for a guy over 200 centimetres in their 2nd year, he's a very, very exciting prospect. One, because he's very aggressive towards the man and the ball. He's great below his knees, like Darcy is. And I think he's going to be able to play at both ends. Although obviously didn't really work on the night in that situation, but. Going forward, I think if we need him to play forward, I think he'll be able to do that. I think a lot of people are already screaming not to move him forward, like they were with Comben. But if Charlie comes back this week, which is a chance, I don't think they're going to drop Pink. So I would think if that was to happen, and Larkey doesn't get up, then that's a possibility that Will Dawson would go to full forward and Chom goes back. But Logue's not a guarantee to keep his spot. So there's a bit to play out there, but look, yeah, he's a massive talent. Very exciting for us. That's one pick that we can say that probably looks like they've got right, along with Hardiman next to him when they pick those 2 guys up. Goad, of course, is a developing ruck with a lot of talent in the VFL, but he'll take 3 or 4 years. So I'm not so disappointed with those picks. There's was one in the early part of that draft we've got a few issues with right now, but Will Dawson's not one of those. He really looks good.
Anything further to add to that, Jesse?
Oh, mate, new favourite player. I don't actually. I'm not even joking. I, as I said, I was there with my dogs, mate, and he was genuinely impressed with Will Dawson. He didn't even know who Will Dawson was. He was like, "Is that Cal Dawson?" Because as you would as an opposition, you're not going to know who a defender in the 20s was for an opposition club, yeah. And all of a sudden comes out of nowhere. He's like, geez, he's a big guy. I love his physicality. Like as soon as he went up to Darcy at the start of the game, just starts pushing and shoving him, hip and shouldering. Physicality was great. He's a big boy, and like that post that I reposted from Channel 7, the one that Kane Corns was commentating, and ironically liked my post. Which I don't know how I feel about that, but anyway, Kane liked my post. Was like he was spot on there, Kane, and he actually said it on air on SEN. He goes, he stands by the fact that Will Dawson played Sam Darcy as well as he's seen anyone play him this year, and then his follow up, like he beats him in the air, then he goes to ground and just spear tackles a guy safely. Vandermeer just lays him out without doing it illegally. I can see, a lot of North fans are getting upset because Dog fans are saying, should have been some free kicks there. And I do think that there was 1 or 2 times where Will Dawson, I think Sam was a bit unlucky not to get a free kick because Will was, and they talked about this on air when they were talking about Sam Darcy and how you beat him and what opposition's going to do. And they said, well, Will Dawson is a great example of someone who has the height. You need a genuinely tall player and they need to use their body because they're not going to have the reach. And he was smart enough to realize that. And either he knew this and he has high footy IQ, or the defensive coach, Jed Adcock, deserves a pay rise. And because he went out there and he bodied him. And yes, it was maybe 1 or 2 instances he should have got a free kick. But I mean, majority of dog supporters walked away from the night saying that the free kicks were embarrassing, and they were embarrassing both ways. The umpiring was deplorable for both clubs. There was a few the Dogs way, the other way that we got that were absolutely disgraceful. But most Dogs fans walked away and said we got the rough end of a really bad deal for both clubs in the umpiring. So I'm not going to complain too much about him not getting free kicks against. And I thought it was a good fight back because the week before, obviously, he got brought in as an injury cover, got put up against Hawthorn. The Hawthorn forward line had an absolute clinic. He had something like a 80% one-on-one defence loss rate in week 1. I had a look at his stats for his 2 games this year, and it's a 66% one-on-one loss rate, which is like the worst in the comp. So it must have been a good 80% or something against the Hawks, but you can't blame him for that. The fact that he did what he did against Sam is massive. So, yeah, to Mark's point, a bit of silver lining, the fact that him and Hardiman back-to-back picks, showing something, redeems some of our other draft mishaps. So, there's some shining lights there.
No, it definitely is. We won't talk about the other draft picks. We'll probably will soon anyway about one of them. But, we'll move on to the midfield, and a very different midfield with LDU going out there. The CBAs, Tom Powell had 28. Harry Sheasel had to go in there. Tristan Sherry, 28. Will Phillips, 26 CBAs. Jai Simpkin, 31 CBAs. It was almost the number 1 midfielder with LDU going out. I guess, Mark, when you draft so many midfielders, it's handy when you get 10 injuries to midfielders. You got all these depth now.
Yeah, so Wardlaw and LDU go out and we've still got heaps of them. And they're all early draft picks for that matter. And that's without McKercher or Finn O'Sullivan playing midfield, who are under 18 superstars in the midfield. So in top 3 picks. So there you go. We've got a lot of bloody midfielders in our club. In terms of the midfield, I thought Phillips was great defensively. But again, 15 possessions or around that isn't probably going to cut it for him in terms of where he needs to be. He probably needs to be able to apply that sort of pressure but still get over 20 possessions. But I thought he was respectable with what he did, and I certainly appreciated his defensive efforts. And not all our midfielders are great like that. So I thought they handled themselves pretty well considering LDU went off overall. And with it, certainly with Wardlaw out, and I mean Harry can play well wherever you play him, but and look, Simpkins a very capable midfielder. He's 1-2 best and fairest there, so he can certainly play midfield, and he's almost an extra midfielder playing in that half forward anyway, getting up to stoppages. So I thought they handled it pretty well considering, and I thought playing the extra player at the stoppages worked really well for most of the game as well.
No, it seemed to. Yeah, it seemed to certainly go in our favour in that regard. So, yeah, full credit to the coaching staff for coming up with that. I mean, Jesse, one of clearances for the game, like you mentioned earlier, 41-35. Contested possessions were even this week as opposed to last week where we lost by 20-odd. Late 61 tackles for the game, and pressure rating was over 180 for most of the game before last quarter, where it dropped off a little. So, I mean, if you keep this effort up, particularly in the midfield, you're always going to be a chance. Yeah. We just don't seem to see it consistently enough, do we?
No, we don't. We absolutely don't. And that's fine from a young club, especially with the changes. The effort is
getting better.
Yeah.
Inside 50 tackles have improved as well.
Yeah.
Oh, this year, yeah.
God, how many years have we been talking about that on here? We've been talking about, I think, God, I would have said half a dozen times on here, I would kill for a player who just tackles in the forward line, for Kane Turner. I'd kill for that, but we didn't need to do that. Paul Curtis over the last 5 weeks is the number one player in the competition for tackling inside 50.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What a player he's
might even be last 10 weeks. I was looking at this the other day. He's the number one player in the competition for tackles inside 50. Our tackling inside 50 has been the cornerstone of our game for the last 10 weeks. In terms
if he had to miss those 3 weeks from suspension, he'd be right up there in all Australian conversations.
100%, and we probably would have won an extra 1 or 2 games. So, and we'd be like a game outside the 8, and we'd be having weird conversations.
It'd be very weird.
Yeah, just on Phillips. I mean, look, Champion Data had him ranked at 65, which is pretty low, but his player rating was 13, which was number 3 for us behind Sherry and Larkey. A really interesting one was that they've got a statistic which is called like your kick threat rating, which is I guess effectively the threat that your kick causes in terms of it putting another player into a dangerous position to then be able to score. And Will Phillips, I mean, he would have only had eight kicks or something like that, probably. I think he only had I think it was 8 kicks, 8 handballs or something. But most of his kicks were pretty damaging. And people probably don't notice that because, again, lack of possessions, and you want to see more. And I 100% agree we need to see more. But, I mean, at the same time, he had 6 clearances, which is the same as Powell and Simpkin. So, and he did that with, 16 disposals as opposed to 16 for Simpkin. He had a better game than Simpkin, in my opinion. So,
I think he's going to play 200 AFL games. I'm just not sure they're going to be with us.
No, I agree. I think his papers are stamped. I think he'll be at West Coast or something next year. And he'll be a player when he leaves. I'll drop a comment on one of his posts and say, and I think a lot of North fans will just say to him, wish you all the best. It's not going to be, hey, we wasted pick 3 on you. We feel bad about it. It helps at a lot of the top end.
He's been a terrific person at the club.
Yeah, 100% he has. So, wish him all the best. I think he'll be a good player at another club when he gets consistent midfield time and he can get to actually 50 games of real AFL time as opposed to, he's probably played 10 or 20 full games in his career. If the rest have been sub. So
if I was Essendon, I'd pick him up. They need inside mid. So, but anyway, we'll see what happens.
They could trade us a certain forward, but anyway, look, absolutely. I think that in general, a lot of the players that people talked down had a pretty good game, and the midfield was very solid. So. We won the clearances, like you said. We won the stoppage clearances more than the centre clearances. We just need to learn to score from it a bit more, be more effective with the kicking. People had a fair crack at Powell again. Obviously had 25 disposals. I
thought he played well. It was a good bounce back from the week before.
I think he played better than he did against Hawthorn, but I still want to see
any worse.
No. I still want to see him do more though with the ball in hand.
Yeah.
I just think that, as I've said, he just seems like such a good distributor of the ball other than when he's playing in the guts. When he's playing the
No.
guts, he just rings around and kicks it, bombs it forward. I'd rather him. The problem is because there's not someone in there who's exploding out of the contest. Like if you had like a Cozzy Pickett or something there, he could use his elite hands because he's an elite handballer, Cunnington-esque. He could use that and distribute the ball to someone to burst out. The problem is that he does it, and everyone else is one paced, so he has to round around and just
I
shank it
don't.
forward.
LDU and Wardlaw are not one pace.
No. But I mean, they're probably not. LDU hasn't been in the best form this year.
No, I mean McKercher will be the one when he goes in there.
Yeah,
that'll
exactly.
explode out on the outside. But yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm not. People are having a lot of people are having a go at Powell. I just want to see him do a little bit more with it. His disposal efficiency. I just want to see that a bit higher. But other than that, I thought he was solid. Yeah, look, I think the midfield was pretty good, all things considered, especially with LDU out.
Yeah, I mean, Tristan Sherry helps. Obviously, when he's got a couple of head knocks, you sort of seen the midfield probably just start and lose their battle a bit. That's no fault through the own. Losing the dominant ruckman like he was during the game, I think he had 15 possessions in the first half, Tristan Sherry, or 16 possessions, something ridiculous for a ruckman. But yeah, unfortunately, just a couple of head knocks, which compounded with Larky's knee injury and LDU's early concussion. Yeah, probably you're never going to be a chance in that regard. Mark, Harry Sheasel. Now, if LDU's out this week, do you think he needs to go in the midfield just to add that bit of class?
Possibly. Is Parker likely to come back, though?
I think he is, but would you keep Harry Sheasel in there, or do you still like him as that high half forward?
At the G, I'd play him as a high half forward.
Okay.
I want him playing at the high half forward, so he's the guy with the kick that's going inside 50 on that bigger ground. But and I liked his game was pretty solid against Carlton. Look, I mean, I'm not going to be unhappy. Put it this way: if he's in the midfield, you want the ball in his hands, particularly when we're going inside 50. So I like him forward of the ball, forward of centre, I should say. That said, there was someone else I liked forward of centre delivering the ball on last week, and that was Cooper Harvey. That he was almost as exciting as Will Dawson, but I know that's not the midfield, but. Yeah, no, I don't mind either way, but at the G, I'd have him playing up forward.
Oh, fair enough. We'll see how that plays out. LDU, was definitely out by the sounds of it this week with a concussion.
Yeah.
It's 12 days, so
unfortunately,
it's 10-day break, so he just misses out, but he should be right for the week after. Forward line, Jesse, Larky. Now, obviously knee injury, but he looks to be finding some form with 5 goals again this week. Should have had 5 in the first quarter and playing on one leg, like we said. But good signs for him after a rough patch over over a few weeks there, just after probably round 6.
Yeah, absolutely. He was absolutely dominant. Poor O'Donnell was getting an absolute bath. They had to move Lob onto him, and by that point, he'd obviously taken a knock to the knee, so we don't know how good he would have been. But you reckon he would have gone on and put on at least 6 or 7. So yeah, he was phenomenal. Really, really positive start to the game for him. I think he was real fired up. He looked like someone who was real fired up from that speech and genuinely wanted to have a crack. He got a few out the back, to be fair to him, and some of that.
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah, I think those, though, you can't say they were lucky. That was actually our ball movement, our ability to burst out and get the ball to him. So I think that says probably less about him, more around how well we were playing at the start of the game and up the field and how well we were with distributing, which is a bit of a miracle talking about that. So, yeah, look, really, really positive, and I thought it worked well with I thought the forward line worked well in general. We were able to put a pretty good score on, and then obviously we quieted down.
Yeah. Mark, I'll get your thoughts on your favourite player, Finbar Melly, coming in. I thought he competed really well in the air, kicked a goal as well. How did you see his game? Because a lot of people were a little bit on the fence, sort of said, no, he didn't do much. But, I mean, a lot of times when the ball was going in there, we did put an extra player, like you said, into the stoppages, which meant there was one less forward. And a lot of times the long, slow kicks, he competed really well in the air, but it was often like 4 or 5 blokes going up for the contest, so it's never going to mark it. But
no, that's 100%. If you put him 1-on-1 and he gets a fly at the ball, he will clunk it. The reality was, if he wasn't playing, there would have been intercept marks galore in our forward line. Lob would have been marking mark after mark after mark, and that's happened to us before. So, and that's the role Jack Darling generally plays, finding a way to get the ball to ground so the intercept defenders don't get to mark it and run it straight out again, like we saw last year. I thought he did a brilliant job of bringing the ball to ground. He works hard defensively. He's got a big tank, and he kicks straight when he had his shot for goal, which is the big knock on him.
Yeah.
So I thought he did very well. I think it's going to be very windy at the G on Sunday, so that's not going to be ideal for someone who's got some kicking issues. But it's
It
probably
might help him, mate.
Might help him. It's not going to be a great day for forwards, probably, but in those conditions. But look, yeah, I thought he did a great job. I think he'll only get better over with another pre-season learning the caper. You've got to remember he hasn't been playing footy for very long, so he's had a great year for his second season, and they'd be very happy with his development, and hopefully he'll get another good game this week.
Yeah, well, I think Darling's out, which we'll talk about soon again. So that definitely gives him another opportunity. I don't mind talking to you boys about some of the inclusions because there was 5 inclusions into the team. Jesse, Zane Dursma, only 6 touches. But if he can find the ball...
Yeah, one very good touch.
Oh, yeah, that kick, that lace-out kick he had.
Kick.
Oh, boy, that was elite.
I mean, he's the type of player, if he could touch the ball... Look, I think that was his knock even in junior football. He didn't get many possessions, but when he did get it, he generally did something good with the ball. He seems to make the right option, but he doesn't get it enough. I mean, let's be honest. If he does get it 12 to 15 times, I think he's going to be a serious player, but most likely in another club, Jesse.
Yeah. It's hard to go past the fact that we paid what we did for him. You could argue, there's a little bit of me that goes, well, we should have never had that pick because it's just absurd.
It's Ben McKay,
the compensation system in the AFL is farcical. The fact that the Eagles are going to get pick 2.
Well, that's not a reason to butcher it.
No, I'm just trying to make it. I'm trying to make
we'll talk about why. Yeah,
I'm trying to make it sound better than it is. Look, it's less about him because if it was just him in isolation, you could say, look, he's still a second-year player. He is one of those players who the type of footballer is like even Taryn. I don't want to make a connection to Taryn, but when I'm thinking
about that, that's why I bring that up.
Like he wasn't fantastic for the first couple of years. LDU wasn't fantastic for the first couple of years.
That's not the issue, though, is it?
No, it's more the fact that with that pick, who we could have taken. It's less about him.
And his attitude at the club at the moment as well. On top of that,
well, are we sure that is a problem?
Like, I mean, we don't know that for sure.
Or is it just Joe Montagna, who I respect, coming out with something that he heard at a pub somewhere? It sounds accurate. Which is probably...
It does. It just intuitively you think, that's probably right.
It sounds accurate. But the main concern for me, as I said, is less about him. If it was, well, we're going to put the next 3 to 4 years into him, do I think he'll become a good player? Yes, I do. I think he could become... He's highly talented. It's just
massively
about building...
talented.
It's just, for me, it's just the fact that with that pick, there were literally... In the neck, there were... I don't care about Watson. Everyone keeps going back, look at Watson. Every time he plays North, he puts a clinic on.
Caddy or Watson, I don't care. Take your pick.
I don't actually care. I wouldn't have picked Watson. If I had my chance right now, looking at all of them and how good they are, and I had that pick back, I would not take that. I would take Caddy O'Sullivan from the Cats or Dan Curtin. I would take all 3 of those players over Watson. And that I'm not trying to knock on Watson because fantastic small, and we absolutely need a small, but those 3 calls, like O'Sullivan is playing for a Cats team who will probably end up top 2, and he's going to play. He's getting a game as a key defender in that team and playing really well, intercept defender. You got Curtin who's playing wing, midfield, forward, back, you name it, he can play it. He looks like a freak, and then you got Caddy who. And if you want to be really pedantic, you got Logan Morris, who was picked 28 or something, who's a key forward.
But Jesse, they weren't worried about that because they knew they had the chance to get Alex Taru the following year.
Yeah, oh God. Look, that's why I'm saying that maybe that's why I'm so excited about Will Dawson, because it helps take some of the edge off some of those other picks. Look, hindsight is a perfect thing. You can always have a go at. People remember that the Saints took Billings over Bont, that they took McCartan over Petrarca,
Ouch.
that they. And I was listening to the Essendon Gold Coast game, and I was driving back from Bendigo, so I had it on the radio, and they were absolutely ripping them to shreds. Oh, they took Sardis with pick. What did we take Wardlaw at pick 4? So it would have been pick 5. They took him above Bailey Humphrey, and Humphrey's put on a clinic. And they took Hobbs at pick 7. They took, they had the draft where they lost Danaher and Sard, and they ended up taking Archie Perkins, Reed, and Cox. Cox, obviously concussion, so he can't do anything about that. Reed looks really, really talented. But had a fantastic super coach year and then got injured, the poor guy. And he's been injured pretty much his whole career. And then Perkins just looks like he's got Perkins reminds me of Dersma, just has no interest being out there. So, yeah, absolutely. Look, that can happen to you. That can happen. Every club has draft nightmares. It's just that some clubs like North Melbourne and Essendon just seem to have more rather than less, which is just a bit unfortunate, really. But, yeah, look, the main one, as I said, it's not about Dersma for me. I will be absolutely filthy if at the end of the year he requests a trade. I'll be absolutely filthy. In my mind, if I was him right now, nothing would make me. I would be absolutely happy if he went to the club and said, "I want to recommit and keep going with yous because I know that I can do better." If he re-signed, I'd be really happy. I'd be really, really happy. Don't get me wrong.
100%.
I'd be happy. Do I think he's going to do that? I don't know.
Doubtful.
But I think the main problem for us is that we could have taken 3 highly talented tools, and now you tell me what we're going to get for him, because we're not going to get a first round pick for him in isolation. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I'm sick of draft picks. There's no point.
Well, that's why I'm happy that we traded out the top one this year, because we would have just taken another midfielder.
Yeah, I know, but still, I mean, in saying that, that draft pick would be worth a lot more now. Teams fall in love with draft prospects, no matter what, especially top 4, 3, 4, 5
of course.
Draft picks. So I think that's worth a lot. But you should have sold. They sold low on it last year.
No, 100% they did. But on the mock draft for this year, they've got Gold Coast getting 2 picks in the top 4.
Yeah,
2 of their academy kids they reckon are top 4 in this year's draft. Yeah, this is a club that's probably going to finish top 8. And you got Brisbane. They reckon he's got pick 6, another midfielder. It's just what a world we live in. But
it's never going to be fair.
No, look, it is what it is. Realistically, at the end of the day, I just want to look. We're going to go in there with two pretty early second rounders, so we are going to get an opportunity still. You just got to think about it. Hardiman, Dawson, around the same pick. Yes, that's going to drift out because of father sons, etc. But you know what? Next year, Sam Harris and McCartney's son might both choose to come to North, and
they get the benefits.
When we're laughing, but
the father-son rule will be changed by then.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming he's going to go to the Swans, or whatever academy he's in.
Yeah, watching what's his name? Stick from the Bulldogs, Riley Sanders. Looking like a player that's going to be very good, and he was in our pocket as well.
Well, I think they've got the same problem as him that we have with McKercher. It looks like he's going to take the old sign on for 2 more, because that's going to get me to the second year of Tassie situation. And then him and Kirch are just going to make up their mind together and
leave. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But if the team starts coming good and they start playing 400 regularly, generally it leads to players starting.
I think McKercher's did the absolute right thing. He extended by the enough period of time that he doesn't just take a punt on Tassie. He gets to see Tassie play for a year, because he's not going to want to go from North, where he's losing 90% of the games, to go to Tassie and lose 90% of the games for the next 5 years, waste half his career. He's not going to want to do that. He'll want to go to whatever club's going to give him the most success. The money is important, don't get me wrong, but he's not. I cannot see him going, well, I've just got through 5 years of North, losing most of my games, to go to another club and do the same thing.
He's going to be wealthy either way.
Yeah, he'll make the right decision. So I thought it was a good decision by him to do what he did.
Fair enough. We'll move forward. Cooper Harvey, Mark came into the team, and I thought he would play back because that's where he's been the last few weeks. But spent most of the game forward. Last quarter, he went back. Was matched up on Bontempelli a couple of times, which was a bit strange. But looked good with a lot of class. Kicked a ripping goal. Still only 20 years old. And I think it would be foolish almost now to get rid of him in a weak draft. I would say there's enough body of work to suggest he at least should be kept on, Mark.
No, the grin on Clarko's face when he kicked that goal suggests to me there's zero chance he'll be delisted now. Before this game, I thought it would be crazy to delist him, given they gave him a 1-year contract. You would assume, and they wanted to see dramatic change in attitude and improvement in his game. And if he's not leading the VFL best and fairest, which Will Phillips probably is, he's right up there. He's been in the best players every week this year, either playing forward or back. So I think his improvement's been fantastic. And as soon as he gets an AFL opportunity, he was outstanding in a huge game. So, I think he'll hold his place. If he holds that sort of form for the rest of the year, AFL, VFL form, I think he has to get at least 12 more months. And he might want only 12 more months because if he proves himself, his contract will be worth he'll get a huge jump in his value. So, right now, he's starting to show the promise that they believed he had when he was 15, 16, which is great. I mean, that was almost as exciting as Will Phillips' game, I thought.
Yeah, no, fair enough. We won't talk about Finbar. We talked about him before. Jesse. Bailey Scott. I found a bit of form as well. 18 touches, 5 score involvements. Playing on the wing. How did you see his game? Not as optimistic.
Look, it's an interesting one. I thought he was like what he had used to be. The thing with Bailey Scott is I think you can see a ceiling. A lot of players you can't see the ceiling. With Bailey Scott, I see a ceiling. And the problem was he was playing well below that this year. And I thought he played his standard, what you expect from a Bailey Scott. And I don't have a problem with that. It was solid. A bit the same for me as Stevens, where I think both of them have a ceiling. This is just my opinion of the two of them. I see a ceiling, but they're both hard workers. So as long as they're able to do what you want them to do, then they're okay to be in the team at this point in time. They're fine. Do I see them as being premiership wingers? Probably not. I see like your O'Sullivan probably taking one of their roles at some stage. McKercher potentially if we move him up the ground and he evolves whatever. But right now, yeah, both really really solid. So yeah, look, I think he was okay. It didn't excite me as much as Cooper, but yeah, I think he did pretty good. I would like to look at some other options on a wing because I think we just go a bit boring on both wings. They're just both hard runners that go both ways. I would like to see us to do something a little different. Maybe have a tall or a high marking player. That's why I like the idea of an Eddie Ford or his papers are stamped. But that type of player being on the wing, you can go both ways, take a mark. So I would like to see something maybe a little bit different on one of the rings. But yeah, I'm a fan of keeping him in the team as long as he performs at a certain level. He definitely didn't have a bad game. That's for sure. It's just he didn't blow me away either.
No. Look, I thought considering how bad he has been this year, I thought it was at least a step in the right direction. So
I thought he was all right.
Yeah, I thought he was serviceable. Mark, anything more to add to Will Phillips? We talked about him a little bit earlier, but he's almost auditioning for a role in a new club next year, the next few weeks, isn't he?
Sadly, I think so.
Yeah. It takes a lot of injuries for him to get in the midfield by the looks of it.
Well, I'm glad that Wardlaw's not coming back this week. One, because I'd hate if we rushed him back.
That's not worth it.
And it's just,
I don't think he's coming back for a while.
They've got to work out his head. You can't put him in, and then 3 weeks later he gets another head knock. That's just dumb.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
I don't even see any need for him to play again this season personally, but give him a full pre-season. That gives him a really clean break. Bit of a time to adjust his game because I think they need to do quite a bit of video work with him just to be a little bit more careful. I know Clarko doesn't want to change his style, but he can't have another 3 concussions in the next 12 months or that's it. So I'd be giving him at least another month off and be very sure that he understands a bit better how to protect his head before he plays again. I think they've got to be really careful with him.
I mean, just on that, look, I noticed Caleb Daniel and Tristan Sherry, obviously
Helmet.
noted for the helmets. I don't know what the helmet does. Does it protect you from like head knocks like that? I'm not too sure. Do you know anything more than that, Jesse?
I think it's just
More a mental thing.
Yeah, I think that look, it definitely helps. It definitely helps, but surely that there's a better helmet out there that could add more protection to someone's head who's prone to. I think he's just got to work on technique. Look at someone like Libba. He attacks the ball very much. He reminds me a lot of a Libba type of player in terms of his attack on the ball. And Libba obviously has had a heap of problems with concussions, and he's been able to, get through his career for the most part. I think he's just got to look at his technique. A lot of work has to be done on his technique because he goes in head first. It's just you can't be playing like that way when you're prone to concussions, because a lot of the players that went in the old days head first probably got concussions and they just didn't know it.
Yeah.
And these days, you know about it, and we're smart enough not to let them play. So, look, I would absolutely be making him wear a helmet.
The science with helmets is not.
No, it's not.
It doesn't suggest that it makes a big difference.
No, but I think
it's not even sure it makes a small difference. It's more a psychological thing for some players.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd mandate players wear them. To be honest,
I think with like someone like Brayshaw, for example, it probably got another year or two out of his career. But I think that's more just that it's got a lot to do with technique. Like if you're charging in like a bull, it doesn't matter if you got a helmet in or not. And that's how Wardlaw's doing his injuries. He's going in head first. So they've got to just do work on his technique.
The problem with the helmets is it's not the impact spot of where they get hit in the head. It's the brain shaking around inside.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So. I'll tell you what, though, some North fans on socials, both Facebook and X, are saying, we've got to play him off the half-back line so he's less prone to that. He is not a half-backer. I'm sorry. He's kicking.
No, he's just a midfielder.
Yeah. He is a midfielder. Yeah. He cannot play half-back. He's not an elite kick by any shape. No. He either works as a midfielder or it doesn't work at all.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he's a one-position player.
Protect him from
himself. Do you think there's an opportunity or a chance that they keep on to Phillips now because they'll be concerned about? I mean, it's not up to them if they pick him because he could walk to West Coast, for example. So it's less around that. But I'd be keen to see what they do if they are concerned with it becoming an issue ongoing.
I don't think. I mean, Phillips has shown a lot of resilience and great attitude in saying, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. I'm going to work my way back into the side. But if they get to the end of this year and they go, mate, we're happy to keep you for another year, but you're only playing if there's injuries, I think he might make the decision it's time to move on anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think he should do that anyway. Like, I think he needs to leave for his own personal benefit to have a longevity in the AFL career.
I agree.
There's no point staying in North Melbourne and hopefully getting an opportunity. I think those opportunities are limited, especially with all the midfielders that we've got coming through. It's clear to see that he's on he's at the back end of getting picked each week. And the only reason he got picked this week was because we had a couple of injuries there. So
even Urquhart in the VFL, who's a big body, is more likely to play the type of role Phillips plays as a defensive midfielder going forward as well. So he's going to have that as competition as he develops. So,
well, there's another man I'm sure we'll talk about who had an elite game on the weekend from a tackling perspective and played a lot of time in the midfield and looks like someone who could definitely be definitely play a tagging role.
Yeah, look at Urquhart's not even playing midfield in the VFL at the moment. I don't know what's going on there. When he's played he's only played a couple of games in midfield in the VFL this year, and he's looked okay. So.
I don't think he's got the tank quite yet, maybe, but
they're playing that Keast and a couple of VFL players. He should be playing ahead of them.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's just stupid. So I don't know what's going on with reserves at the moment. We'll transition there anyway. A 16-point loss at Whitten Oval Friday afternoon. Obviously decimated through players coming up. So, Will Phillips and your regular reserves players had to come up to the seniors. So that, hurt hurt their chances. But playing the second on late, I thought they did quite well. Geordie Payne, Jesse, 13 touches and 17 tackles. Almost a little bit of Anthony Stevens, the way he plays. Very hard at the ball. I know I've been a big rap on him as a small forward, but he seems to be playing midfield in the reserves at the moment. But I know a lot of people are calling for him to come in, but I don't think he's going to get that opportunity because we've got players to come back this week. And, yeah, we've got LU will come out, but Parker will probably come in for him. Outside of that, I don't think he's probably going to be there or thereabouts.
Didn't he kick 2 goals? Did he not play for? I just assumed he played.
He played half forward, midfield. Yeah.
Played a lot of midfield time, but drifted forward. Yeah, kicked 2 goals. I think he had 2 goal assists as well. Like really good kicks to players to set them up. 1 handball. If you don't play someone after doing 17 tackles, then you're not rewarding form at all. You have to give him a game. He has to play a game. I don't care what position it is, because that just shows his work ethic. You're not laying 17 tackles without work ethic. Like, you would kill to give his work ethic to a Dersma. 17 tackles is obscene. The record in the AFL is like, what, 20?
But is he going to do a better job than a Will Phillips?
He's got a more offensive side to his game, obviously, because he can play forward as well.
Well, that's what I've assumed. If he, my thinking was if he plays, he's got to play as a defensive forward. He kicks 1 or 2 goals.
Well, I'm not going to go there because I got absolutely pillaged for this on X for making this comment, and because people just think I hate him, and I don't hate him. But look, Castani played a fantastic game on Dale and shut him down, and he should play that role now ongoing in terms of locking down on the opposition's elite half-backer, because he'll do a fantastic job on them. But for me personally, he just needs to offer a bit more offensively in terms of his ability to score goals. Yeah. He's doing a great role defensively. Don't get me wrong, and I don't.
You just want 1 goal a game. They've got to average a goal.
Like Payne, I just see Payne as someone who can do the same defensively, but also offer more offensive, and I just think he's got to play. I don't care where he plays. I think I said in the chat with you guys on the weekend, I'd love for him to go back down back. Because we need a lockdown small defender. We still do not have a lockdown small defender. And
not while Archer's injured.
No, exactly. But he's got a little bit of pace to him. He's small. We need, like, Archer's not that one who can go on your Bobby Hill types. We need someone who's got a little bit more speed, who's a little bit more accountable. And I actually like his defensive game. Yes, he can do some good things offensively, but I think there's an opportunity. He just needs to be playing. For mine, he needs to be playing in the team.
Yeah, I'm not so sure where they're at with him. Out of contract at the end of the year. Got into an emergency a few weeks ago.
I will riot if we delist him after taking him as pick 1 in the mid-season draft.
well, wouldn't be the first time I missed on a mid-season draft pick there, Jesse.
They've got to trial him for a few games before. If they are going to delist him, they've certainly got to have a look at him, surely.
God, that if we weren't going to take him, we should have taken Blight with pick 2 as a tall defender who played for Richmond on the weekend. We've got to play him. We've got to play him. His form in the VFL warrants being played. In my honest opinion, we're not rewarding form in my mind if we don't give him a game.
Surely not another Jacob Edwards number 1.
He's not him. He actually touches the ball every now and then.
If it ends up the same result with him delisted without playing a game, it's the same. That's 2 number 1 mid-season.
I'll put it this way:
gone.
Pick 4 in that mid-season draft was Max Hall. He had 150 Supercoach points on the weekend. He looked like in a game that they lost. He looked like an elite midfielder. There were some decent players in that.
Well, May looked pretty good for Essendon too.
Stop. Frank knew to push that button. I was at Bendigo enjoying a lunch, and I get a message from my Bombers mate going, May, 3 goals in 3 minutes. Surely North didn't overlook him. And at the same time, I get a message from Frank saying, has anyone checked on me?
I did see that.
That's the other one. If we don't give Banch a game, I'm gonna riot. I'm gonna riot.
They both can't play this week. It's going to be one or the other.
We look like idiots. What are we doing?
We've overlooked a lot of key position players over the last 3 years.
To pick 2 small forwards who we refused to give games to.
If May turns into a 50-goal a year forward,
Oh,
it's just going to be
I give up.
horrific. It's
I'll
going to
stop
be
watching.
horrific.
I'll buy
Anyway.
a Bombers membership.
No, don't say that. Don't even say that.
We'll go to see Brady Rawlings.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way.
He's building an underground bunker, Brady Rawlings.
He is very close to going into Cam Joyce territory for me, and Cam Joyce is the one person in football that would not want to be in a back straight with me because I hate him.
He's a senior coach, isn't he?
The AFLW women's or something?
VFL. No.
VFL. He's Essendon's VFL coach. Yeah.
No, he got the flick from Gold Coast. AFLW's team
and Essendon. Yeah, Brad remembered how much he loved him, and
is that
how
right?
good he was at building the North.
Yeah, he got a promotion the next year. So.
He is the single source of where we are at the moment. So, but Brady's quickly becoming his. Well, he was his successor.
Mm.
And he's done a bloody good job. He almost as good.
Well, yeah. It's no coincidence that Essendon and North have had the same issues, that's for sure. Two long-term list managers causing cane. Anyway, enough negativity.
Oh, I'll never forget the day, what's his name, Dodoro, fist pumped when he got Irving Mosquito at pick 38 in the draft. And that's, look how that worked out. It was no good. We'll continue here before we go on talk about Essendon and their fails along with us. Zach Badge, 2 goals, very lively. You mentioned that. Unfortunately, Mark, Jackson Archer is out for the year with an ankle injury. No soft tissue injuries last weekend, but he seems to be getting a lot of injuries at the moment and almost has the curse of being injury prone at the moment, Mark.
Well, Gary Lyon went on an absolute rampage this morning on SEN about the stats on players in their first 3 years and injuries in the AFL, and the stats are absolutely horrific. And basically he's saying where teams are being forced to play kids too early before they're ready, and they're breaking down over and over again. And Josh Goda was another example he used.
I think that's a really good point. That is a really, really good point. I think
absolutely.
For every Harry Sheasel and every Nick Dacos, vast majority of players are not ready physically, mentally, emotionally at 18, and we're expecting way too much of them.
Yeah, the example he gave was Geelong, who they get a rising star winner playing in his 3rd season.
Yeah, because they don't rush. Well, look, it helps that they don't have to rush them in, but they don't rush them in. And
they refuse to do it. So they build a squad that's got a lot of mature age players, and they make their kids wait 3 years before
the lists
they play.
Are too small.
Well, that's one of the issues that came up. And now, on top of that, we're asking them to play too many games, senior games too early, because they have to, because as soon as there's a few injuries, they're forced to play. In Richmond, look at Layla. It's already happening there with all their kids.
Yeah.
So, I'm not expecting to go back to the to the 80s, late 70s, where Michael Tuck played 80 games of VFL before he even played his first senior game. And Dipper played 3 or 4 years in the seconds at Hawthorn as well. It used to be commonplace there, but and that was the right model. But the other thing that's being thrown up is 18's probably too young for them to be drafted. There's the exceptions, as you said, like Sheasel and Nick Dacos, but maybe making them wait 12 more months might be a better option. Because half of them haven't barely lifted a weight by the time they arrive at AFL footy, and then suddenly they're playing against guys who've done 10 pre-seasons. I mean, no wonder they're getting injured. The tall guys, their shoulders get smashed in their first year, and the midfielders are getting head knocks and stuff. So anyway, it is an issue. I don't agree with anything Gary Lyon said. Disagree with anything he said.
Yeah, I mean, the most notable one in the last few years was Miller Bergman when he came in for his first game. Far too young.
That was terrific.
He got tackled and popped his shoulder out.
Even Will Dawson last year when he got injured against West Coast was very similar. Shoulder. It's not fair on them.
Comben,
if they're physically not ready.
You could go on and on. Every club would have players like that.
Yeah. The corpse, that is Josh Goda, was on limited minutes, I believe, so he came back. CCJ, 18 touches, 17 hit-outs, 4 clearances. Missed a couple easy shots.
Easy.
Jesse.
He cost us the game.
Yeah, it hurt.
My mate goes, when I said Larky was injured, my mate said, finally Callum Coleman-Jones is going to get another shot. And I said, He missed 2 from 10 meters. I would have kicked them. He missed 2 from 10 meters out. It was oh,
He's a career VFL player to this point. I
it's
mean,
a shame.
how old is he? 24,
Oh,
25?
don't
I think he's
26?
25 now, yeah.
So he's played 7 years of VFL footy, really, and a handful of VFL games.
Well,
so
he's been injured a lot too.
He has. I mean, I do think he'll get another year.
Yeah, I think they will.
I
They'll
think
keep
Tika
him
will
ahead
miss
of
it.
Teakle.
Tika will miss out. He'll get another year because Goad needs support still. Obviously, then Goad wants to be. They want to build Goads forward. Next off season and next season, the VFL, he'll play a lot as a key forward.
Okay,
So
so he's
they'll-
actually 26. Colin
Yeah,
Collins
there
was.
you go.
So he's no spring chicken.
No.
He should be at the peak of his AFL football career, but
Next year will be his big chance to show something, I think.
Yeah, well, we certainly hope so. One player I want to talk to you before we move from the reserves, and that's Braden George, Jesse. Doesn't seem to be getting much of the ball in the VFL. He's been back for 9 weeks now. I think his highest possession tally has been 8 possessions 2 times. The only thing he's done is kicked 3 goals in 5 minutes against Collingwood, who had a pretty depleted team. Are you concerned about him, or is it just about getting games into him this year and worrying about him more next year?
Yeah, getting games.
Yeah.
How would you rate the year? Like, how would you?
There's been some highlights with him, but he's almost like Zane Dersmer at the moment. He's not getting any of the ball.
Nah, look.
He's good defensively, but yeah, you're right. You're right.
What would you say he needs to work on the most?
Well, probably
Getting
his tank.
possessions.
He's got to get fit.
Mm.
He doesn't look fit. He looks a bit overweight at the moment, if I had to take a guess. But look, when he gets it, he looks good. Defensive side's probably lacking a bit too. Yeah, so I think he needs a pre-season.
Yeah,
too, Jesse.
I think so as well. That's where I land. That's where I land on it. I've questioned it as well. But I think he just needs a big pre-season.
Mark, will he ever get a game though? Like if you got Paul Curtis, Cameron Zurhaar, Harry Sheasel, Nick Larkey, Jack Darling or Finbar Malley, you got a small forward. It's going to be hard for him to get a game. Even if he's kicking 5 goals a week in the reserves each week.
No, if he's doing that, he'll get a game. But he's a long way from that right now. I mean, look, he could end up playing midfield too because he's explosive and he's strong. Not that we need midfielders. But I could see him playing. But, I mean, in his under 18, he was a great grab and good on the lead. So he was a bit like who's the Collingwood player who's in line for an All-Australian playing for the small forward, Jamie Elliott. So that's the sort of player he was at under 18 level. Of course, it's a far cry from that. But he was a very talented small player that played almost as a key forward. So I mean, he needs a big pre-season before he can even.
One recruiter on socials who does a lot of the drafts and that still describes him as the best player we haven't seen.
Yeah, there you go.
Like he would have been without the ACL the year before his draft year. That he easily could have been the best player in that draft.
So
that's a problem. He's had 2 ACLs now.
He's missed so much footy. But look, he just needs a massive pre-season building up his power again. And then we're just got to hope. Yeah, he's missed so much footy. Like, I mean, I still think Will Phillips has been affected by the COVID year and then glandular fever. Like, it really does. If you just keep missing huge amounts of footy, it's not easy. But yeah, fingers crossed for him.
No, definitely. Good performance by reserves anyway against the second team in the competition, considering the team was a bit decimated through other players coming up to the seniors. Before I finish, boys, we'll go through some possible team changes. Now, LDU will miss this week against the Demons. Parker should be good. Fisher should be good. Luke McDonald, chance to come back.
Fisher can't come in. Don't bring Fisher back.
McDonald, I don't even know do I want him in the team?
Jack Darling won't be back. Charlie Comber might be back. So a few selection headaches. That's why I'm thinking. I don't know if it's this is the week for where there'll be any reserves players come in. Jesse?
So I have Parker coming in for LDU. That's a certainty. And then I am open to suggestions on how to get Geordie Payne into the team, but he isn't in on my sheet. I just got to work out who the out is.
Yeah.
But
Will it
he's
be Dersma? If he comes in, Dersma's the one that
I'd like
has
to
to
see
go out.
him given another week, though.
I mean, I would love to see Dersma get another week as well, but for mine, Geordie Payne has to play. If that means that,
Well, then Hanson Jr. is your only other option.
or they go one less midfielder.
Will
Yeah, but
Phillips or
who-
something, yeah.
Yeah, like Will Phillips, and you give
Yes,
more
that's a
game
big call.
time to the other, to Sheasel, etc.
Yeah,
I just think
yeah.
he has to play. I think I think it just sends a terrible sign if you don't play him. The other one for mine is, look, you just called out Luke McDonald. I don't know who he comes into the team for.
Oh, he'll come in.
Who
Yeah,
do
I'm
you-
not too. Yeah, I'm not
You
too
could-
sure. Yeah, they'll play him, but I don't know who he comes.
like
who
Charlie
comes-
Comden would obviously come straight in for Logue for mine.
Yeah.
Or if Comden's not ready, you could also do McDonald in for Logue potentially and play Dawson because
No, that's
Melbourne
true.
aren't overly tall. Like we went last time we played
McDonald will play on
played tall,
Fridge. He'll play on Fridge.
Yeah, he played on Fridge. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
And
he
did
goes
a very
to
good
Fridge.
job on him too.
Dawson goes to
Van Rooyen.
Van Rooyen, and then they've just got a generally one of their other little young tools, and you could chuck anyone to them really.
Yeah.
Logan can play in the seconds this week.
Yeah, you weren't very happy with him, were you, Mark?
I don't like people laughing at a 76-year-old president, premiership coach in that situation.
President, I was going to say I like Donald Trump all the time.
That president. Well, he could definitely be laughed at, although he won't. He's in charge of nuclear weapons, so I'm not that
No,
funny.
I'm not going to say anything about it.
But yes, I won't go down that rabbit hole. Be on talking for an
God.
hour. But I look. It probably didn't mean anything by it. I just thought it was a horrible look. Given his form hasn't been great either, it won't bother me if he doesn't play this week.
No, that's fair enough. Well, anyways, boys, I've got to head off in a minute, so I might love you and leave you there, boys. Jesse, thanks so much for coming on
Thank
tonight.
you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Looking forward to this week.
No, sounds good. Mark, always a pleasure with you, mate, and I won't be charging you any tariffs this week.
I appreciate that. Looking forward to getting back to our spiritual home at the G.
Yeah. Oh, look, the Fortress. So, yeah, really looking forward to that. But thanks so much, boys, for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all you listeners as well for listening today. It was a bit of a longer podcast, but hopefully you got something out of it. And it was a few days after the game. I think it's last Thursday. It's been a long time, but just timing didn't quite work out as far as schedules go. Anyways, like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell your friends about the podcast. That's it from me and the boys. Bye for now, and go Roos.